We're live. Welcome to a brand new episode of Pick a Side. Right now, River is not with us because he had to take the day off. But we have a really special show. So everybody knows that we've been going through a really crazy time in the world with what's going on with police brutality. And we're going to start off with that because we all know that the NBA season was supposed to start, but it's kind of getting delayed because Kyrie Irving has been saying that they should not start because starting the NBA season would cause as a distraction to what's happening in the world right now. And Dwight Howard backed them up in that statement. So the first question of the day is, should the NBA continue? And I'll start with you, JC.
I think the NBA should continue just because of the fact that I know a lot of players are going to be upset if the season doesn't continue. You won't have a champion, which hasn't happened since, I think, the 60s, right? Hasn't happened since the 60s.
It's a long time.
I mean, I don't know in any major sport you can go a year without crowning a champion. What do I think about the 22-team format? Sheesh. I think it's good because I think teams like Phoenix and Sacramento and Memphis and teams that are like a couple games out of the 8th spot in the tough West, I think it's perfect. I think it gives them a chance to, play and maybe, make that final 8th seed. I wanna add that I kind of am a little weirded out by one of the rules that I read. I read that if a team is less than 4.5 games out, that they have a shot to playing for the 8th seed. I kind of that's where I'm kind of iffy on it because I don't think it's right that a team that's 4.5 games behind a team that's in the 8th spot should have a chance to play for an 8th spot over a team that when the season was going was 4 games ahead of them. So, okay. I mean, I think I'm more for I'm 75% with it. And then the other 25% is me just being a little skeptical about you being 4 games out and you getting a chance to make the 8th seed. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, that's really how I feel about it. I don't know how you feel about it.
All right. So outside of the 22-team format that I'm going to get to next, right now there's been a lot of controversy because Kyrie Irving said that there's going to be a lot of distraction if the NBA were to resume. And I agree with both. I agree with that the players should play, and I agree why they wouldn't play. Because right now there's a lot going on. We've seen voter suppression in Georgia. We're seeing police brutality, all these videos amongst these protests and even before. Mm-hmm. And we're still dealing with a pandemic. That being said, do I think that the NBA restarting is going to be a distraction to the movement? I don't. Because I think if the movement is a priority for you, then it should not be a distraction. I was talking to you earlier about this, about an analogy I made. Mm. If you have a kid and your child poops his pants and an NBA game is on, a playoff game at that, are you going to watch the playoff game or are you going to clean your baby's diaper? You're probably going to clean your baby's diaper. But why are you going to do that? You're going to do that because it's a priority for you. So if the movement is a priority for you, then the NBA resuming will not distract you. Because Lou Will was talking about how we'll be in the house all day and all that. Usually these protests, from what I've seen, there was one organized in my town. They're in the mornings or they're in the afternoons. They're not going on at 8 o'clock when an NBA game is supposed to start. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it'll be a distraction to players. People want to see players put their money where their mouth is, but I think there are other ways to do that besides not playing. If they play, they'll actually make more money and be able to donate more to these causes. Nobody is saying that these issues aren't real issues, but the fact that the NBA coming back, which already had diminished ratings to begin the season, is going to totally distract the world from what's going on, I think that's false. I think that this movement going on is a huge priority for a lot of people, and the NBA coming back won't distract anybody. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest reason for players not wanting to return is that they'll be trapped in Disney World. I've been to Disney World, and I wanted to get out of there after 3 days. It kind of sucks to me because it's a bad place to be if you're an older person and you don't have any kids. So they're going to be in Disney. At Disney, they're going to report there July 31st. They're going to have to go 30 days without their family. And like, bro, your whole schedule gets messed up. Where you're gonna go work out, where you're gonna eat, where you're gonna this, where you're gonna that. Being trapped in Disney is a whole bunch of things that come with it, and I think that's the most valid reason. Also, Corona. There's been 19 states where the cases in Corona have spiked even more. So it's like, that's a valid reason. But I don't think a valid reason is that it'll be a distraction. I don't think it'll be a distraction. And I don't see how the NBA stopping their play is going to accelerate the movement that's already going on. It's not going to increase the priority in the government making brand new legislation, because I feel like the biggest legislation that needs to be removed is qualified immunity amongst police officers, because of this law, they can murder citizens and get away with it, or commit heinous crimes because of this law, qualified immunity. So I don't think the NBA getting canceled is going to accelerate that into being removed. I think it's going to come with protesting, with people voicing their opinions. We even see now the movement isn't trending on Twitter, but people are still out and they're protesting and they're having their voices be heard. So I don't get how a LeBron versus Kawhi trending is going to change what people are doing out on the streets, because I feel like people are already furious and they're trying to create change. So I just don't feel like the NBA being canceled or players not wanting to play or wanting to play is going to cause is this huge distraction that people think it's going to cause. And on top of that, it's like, JC, where did these players get their platform from?
From the NBA.
From the NBA. So you can use your platform by playing with millions of people viewing your games to create some type of change, to have a bigger voice in all of this.
The NBA's been on record also saying that if you really don't feel like playing, you really don't have to go, right?
Yeah, you don't have to play if you
You'll
don't
get
want
paid.
to play.
You'll get paid your full salary and everything. You wouldn't have to go, right?
Yeah, and there's also implications to this. Like, if the NBA does not resume, the CBA is going to negotiate new contracts. They're going to pay players less. TV contracts are going to be they're going to be significantly lower. It's going to affect a lot of players' salaries. So, I mean, you can be one of those people that say that it shouldn't be about the money. They should, forget about the money and just be off of the movement, and I get that. But money creates a lot of change, and money creates a lot of power. So them having more money can create more change and more power, in my opinion. So I don't think that they should risk the next 10 years of the NBA's and player salaries for something that I don't think will accelerate the movement and will not cause as a distraction. But next, moving on, is if the NBA returns, the new format, what you were talking about, is the 22-team format. So they're going to start July 31st. Players are going to start reporting to Disney. The teams that are in it, in the West, the Grizzlies, Portland, Pelicans, the Kings, the Spurs, and the Suns, and the Wizards are the only team in the East because the Eastern Conference sucks. So this season is going to go on a really long time. Yeah. It's going to go on. The NBA Finals, Game 7, would be scheduled on October 13th. Jesus. So, look, out of these teams, out of the Grizzlies, because we know the Wizards are not going to get in, but the Grizzlies, Portland, Pelicans, Kings, Spurs, and Suns, which team do you think is going to get the 8th seed?
I got the Grizzlies getting the 8th seed just because of the fact that I think they've been playing well all year. I think how many games are the Suns away from the Grizzlies?
Honestly, I don't know.
It blows my mind that the Suns have a shot at,
They were probably the team that were 4.5 games back. Or they're probably even further.
Well, the Grizzlies, I would say them just because of the momentum they've had. I think they're obviously ahead of everybody. If the season were to end the correct way, they would be the 8th seed. Portland's been up and down all year. The Pelicans, I don't really think they found an identity. The Spurs, I don't think they're really that good anymore. The Suns, I think they're still young. And who's the other team? The Kings. I know the Kings actually were finishing the season quite strong. So, maybe, maybe the Kings can do something, but like I said, I mean, Portland inconsistent all year, and just the Pelicans, I don't think they found an identity. So I mean, yeah, actually, I think we can agree that the Kings were finishing the season pretty strong,
but
they might have the best shot.
You know that the Spurs, they don't have LaMarcus Aldridge. He's out. He's not.
Oh, he's out, so he's not gonna play.
Yeah, he's not gonna play.
That's a gigantic
Spurs,
hit.
I think the Spurs they're done. They're not gonna make it.
Nah.
The Suns are not gonna make it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's between Portland, Memphis, Pelicans, and the Kings.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if Harrison Barnes shaved his beard yet, because he said he's not going to shave until
he was looking 500. Crazy. He was looking crazy.
I don't know if he waited this whole time if he did not shave. I really want to see that. I don't follow him anywhere, so I'm not sure. I hope he did, because he was looking like the man from Geico.
Bro, he had his beard was going here. It was looking bad.
Yeah, he looked really bad. So, I mean, the Kings... I don't think I agree with you. I think the Grizzlies will finish off the season strong if the NBA were to resume, and they'll get that 8th spot. But the format is pretty much going to stay the same.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same thing as last year, the previous years. 1 through 8 will be facing each other in each conference. So nothing is going to change there. And your championship pick is who? I
got the Lakers winning. But like I just want to elaborate, in reality, I mean, I understand the NBA giving these other teams a shot, because how many games were left in the season? Maybe 20, 24, 25. It's a lot of games left to make up a lot of ground. Yeah. So I agree with the NBA in doing that. My pick's still not going to change. I have the Grizzlies. And my pick to win the championship is still not going to change. I got the Los Angeles Lakers.
Wow, but I just feel like it's a lot of time, because you start basically August 1st, we can say, right? The NBA season restarts. Each team on this list is going to play 8 games, the remaining 8 games of their schedule. Yep. And... basically, it's going to be until August 1st until October 13th. And then the NBA season, I think 2020 to 2021 is going to start December. So you're giving players like a 1 month gap to start the next season.
This is something we've never seen before. Hopefully this works out. I mean, we're gonna be watching basketball in October when it's in the middle of football season.
It's I think that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing football and basketball at the same exact time. Yeah. But I love the beginning of the season when football starts. I'm all for it. Even though the Jets usually lose, and I'm a Jets fan. Yeah. You lose in the beginning of the season, but I just feel like it'll be so fun to be able to talk about both. And I feel like they're going to capture a lot of people's attention if it were to happen.
We'll see.
So, look, we talk about this player a lot. A lot of people joke about him in the NBA because they don't like his play style. But he's one of my favorite players, and I'm probably his biggest fan. This player is James Harden. Do you think James Harden is unfairly criticized?
Okay, so I want to start out by saying... it really depends what you think is unfair criticism. If you think that him dominating the regular season like he does, and I read a stat that I think Curry's number 1 in not performing as well as he does in the regular season. James Harden's number 2. There's 2 sides of the coin that you could look at this. So you could look at it this way. You could look at it that James Harden has he probably honestly. All time, you can literally say he's probably a top 10 regular season player of all time. His stats are ridiculous. He scores 36 a game, 30 a game. Team always makes the playoffs. Has always made the playoffs since he's been in Houston. But the other side of the coin is, okay, players like LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, these guys step up in the postseason. I think a lot of what James Harden is criticized for is because of his lack of play in the postseason. But then, again... since we've been arguing about this a really long time, you've kind of slightly changed my mind a little bit, because if you think about it, James Harden routinely had to go against the Warriors. That was the team that he had to beat. And honestly, nobody in the past 4 years, nobody beat them.
Nobody.
He did take them to 7. He took them to 6 one year. So he's been really close. I think his performance the 1 year in 16 when they played in Game 7, I felt like he should have played better than what he did. Both games they were up. I felt like if he would have closed that out, his legacy just would have skyrocketed. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I mean, do I think he's unfairly criticized? I think it depends. There's 2 different types of fans. Like River, our other podcast host, he really kind of strictly bases your career of what you do in the playoffs. The regular season doesn't really matter to him. And Joel and me, I think what you do in the regular season matters because that sets you up in the playoffs. So I think just because you have a bad 4 games shouldn't necessarily mean that like, oh, you're trash. You know what I mean? Like, I don't respect him because he doesn't play. You know, it's 4 games. It's a 4-game sample size. So in reality, I think James Harden is unfairly criticized. But on the other side of things, I can see why, you know, you consider this guy one of the best players in the world. And usually the LeBrons, the Kawhis, and all these other elite players, they step their game up in the postseason. I think people are waiting for James Harden to step his game up in the postseason. What do you think?
I think James Harden is definitely unfairly criticized because, okay, regular season, there isn't a debate that he's one of the best, if not the best player in the NBA in the regular season. I mean, in the last 3 years, 2017 to 2019, he's averaged 34 points per game, 8 assists, 6 rebounds, and for people that say he doesn't play defense, 1.8 steals per game. So he's not a bad defender like people like to label him as. That's the narrative, but that's not true. And those stats, 34 points per game and 8 assists per game, no player in NBA history has ever put up those numbers in a 3-year span. Not Kobe, not D-Wade, not LeBron, not MJ. Like, scoring-wise, the only person to do it was Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, he had the points, but he doesn't have the assists like James Harden. And as for the other players, Kobe Bryant, I'm pretty sure only averaged 30 once in his career. I think
4 times. For a season?
4 times?
No, I'm sorry. Pardon me. 3, because he had 1 year 35, 33, and 32.
Oh, okay. My fault. That's Kobe, right?
Yeah, Kobe
Okay.
Bryant.
James Harden has been doing this for the last 3-4 years, right?
It's honestly become routine for us.
Yeah, like, and we totally disregard it at this point. But James Harden right now averaging 34 points per game and 8 assists in the last 3 years. No player in NBA history has ever done that. So by far, regular season, he's a great performer. Absolutely. But also the narrative about him has been he doesn't perform in the playoffs. The finals against the Heat really stained his career, even though he was a bench player at that point.
He was a pup.
You know, I have my friend Allen. Like, we argue about James Harden and Dwayne Wade all the time. And he always brings up the finals up. And I'm like, James Harden wasn't even a starter.
Yeah.
You know, you can't really put that on him. But that's besides the point. The point is, like you said, the teams that he's faced, there was a year that Golden State went 16-0 in the playoffs. Or I think
15-1.
16-1 or 15-1 or whatever it was. I think it's 16-1.
Because, you know, the Cavs got 1 game from them in the finals. I was telling River the other day, they dominated that entire postseason.
Yeah, and Harden, the very next year, their team took them to 7 games and could have won if Chris Paul didn't get injured.
Good chance they could have won.
James Harden, and with Chris Paul, and even this past year with Chris Paul again, last year, they've beat the Warriors 5 times. That's more than any other teams combined beat them. The Cavs with LeBron, Kevin Love, Kyrie, Tristan Thompson, they only got a game. So
they had to shoot lights out to get that
and
game.
Also, it's not like James Harden played bad in these series. This past year, he averaged 35 points per game. He had better numbers against the Warriors, points, field goal percentage, assists, I'm pretty sure rebounds and steals than Kawhi. But yet the narrative is that James Harden choked and Kawhi Leonard is this dynasty killer. In my opinion, it's just winning bias. Because Kawhi won, we're biased about it.
And his game is more liked around the league, you know what I mean?
Since he won, we're more biased around it. But the bottom line is that James Harden is unfairly criticized, and while he has had moments before that he's choked, that is not the case now. Like, he has played way better in the playoffs, and regular season for his career, I think he averages 29. In the postseason, he averaged 28.6 for his career. And that's including in OKC when he was averaging 16 and like the other numbers. So bench, so it's not fair. James Harden is one of the best players, and I think he should be appreciated as such.
You know, like I said, it really depends on the fans and like what you hold him against. Like, his contemporaries. If you're gonna compare James Harden to like how LeBron or Kawhi Leonard does it, you also have to look at the situations too. To your point in the Kawhi argument a bunch of times, Kawhi has really, for his whole career, really had pretty good teams. You know what I mean? He has pretty good teams. LeBron, you can say he's had good teams. Probably not as much as Kawhi's had it for his career, but LeBron's had good teams. I mean, James Harden was in when the first year in Houston. I mean, I saw his roster. Who like DeMontis, like these are players that they're not household names, and he's taking you to the playoffs. So I mean, I'm one that as I watch basketball more, I'm starting to appreciate more what James Harden does, because the second that he touched down in the West, the Rockets haven't missed the playoffs. And he's done it with injury-plagued rosters one year. He's done it with his second best player being Dwight Howard, who was on the decline at that point. So I mean, it depends. It depends what you're holding James Harden to. If you're holding him to like one of the greatest of all times, then I guess the criticism is a little fair. But if you're just gonna just base his entire career off a couple postseason, series, then I don't think that's good. I think you can't ignore what he's done in the regular season and what he's done for his team. And
you made a good point, because if you're going to hold James Harden to the standard of one of the greatest of all time, what does that mean? So I don't know what it is that's so unpopular about James Harden that like fans hate him.
They just think he dominates the ball too much.
Yeah, but you know what's funny about that is that Luka does that now, and he's loved.
Yeah,
Luka plays exactly the same as James Harden. Maybe not exactly, because he's a better. I think he's much more of a magician with the basketball when he passes the ball. But their game style is the same. They isolate. They get to the basket. They shoot step back threes. They shoot threes.
Pass the ball.
They play efficient basketball. But yet, Luka is loved and James Harden is hated, universally hated by fans. It's a weird situation.
It really is.
We're gonna talk about another player who's been an all-star before, but his career has been declining because he's been getting injured. So this player is John Wall. So John Wall, we know that he's been hit with the injury bug. He's even tore his Achilles in the bathtub because he slipped. That's happened. I'm not gonna lie though. That's pretty devastating to slip in a bathtub. I don't know if it's ever almost happened to you, but it's like a scary feeling to slip in the bathtub.
Nah, it's never happened to me, but
I've almost slipped in the bathtub.
Dude, he tore his Achilles slipping in the bathtub. Wow, what a way to go out.
But me, like when I think about slipping in the bathtub, it's more of I just hurt my back and I'll be sore. If I were to tear like my knee up or anything else, like fucking break my forearm, then I would honestly be like mad at myself. Like I think at this point, John Wall is pretty used to people making jokes about him. Yeah. Because tearing your Achilles in the bathtub is a pretty funny situation.
Dude, that's the first time I've ever heard that.
That's like getting killed by a vending machine.
Yeah.
It's like a rarity. But besides the point, okay, John Wall. How do you think he's gonna come back from this injury? What do you expect from John Wall?
Okay, what do I expect from John Wall? I mean, I want to start out by saying that John Wall is on the record saying that he's 110% healthy. Now, if that's what you're gonna say, then this is what I'm gonna think that John Wall is going to do when he returns. I think he's gonna get his routinely 18 points per game, his routine 8 assists a game. I do think the Wizards, if he's as healthy as he says he is, I do think the Wizards will make the playoffs, maybe 8-7 seed. I think that a couple teams in the East are actually getting better, and the Wizards are actually on the decline. So I mean, to be honest, I don't really expect much from John Wall, other than the fact that if I'm him and the Wizards, you have to come to a mutual agreement. John Wall, if you're saying you're 110% healthy, then you have to play like the contract that you've been given. You know, I understand you're coming off an ACL tear, devastating. I understand that you're coming off an Achilles injury, which is also devastating. So because you said that you're 110% healthy, I'm gonna go on what you routinely showed me for your career. 18 points per game. You're a great passer. You could say you're a great passer. You're a great defender. Your impact, I mean, you should help the Wizards make the playoffs in the East. I mean, right now there's a 9th seed. I mean, you add a player like John Wall. I mean, it's not out of the realm to say that it can make the 8 to 6 seed in the East. You know what I mean? But honestly, before I just give this off to you, I kind of think John Wall is kind of a lost cause now. I think that his game isn't really what the NBA wants anymore, and I think that he's making so much money and he's coming back from 2 devastating injuries that it's just like, at this point, I don't really even know if we should be having this topic right now about John Wall. That's how downhill it's really gone for him. I feel for him. So
I have a soft spot for John Wall because time goes by pretty quick. I remember it being 2010 and John Wall getting drafted and me creating his player so I could play with him on 2K alongside Gilbert Arenas. But, like, isn't it kind of weird that the same way Gilbert Arenas and other great wizard career ended was by injury, and it seems like the same thing might happen to John Wall.
Pretty much.
That's kind of a coincidence. But John Wall, this is my prediction for John Wall and the Wizards. I think the Wizards will end up trading Bradley Beal. Because I think if John Wall comes back and they play together, Bradley Beal is not going to want to play with him. And no team in the NBA
is going to want his
John
contract.
Wall. So the only plausible player to get is Bradley Beal. And they'll trade for Bradley Beal and John Wall. The Wizards will be irrelevant. John Wall will not make much of an impact because you were right. Like, no team wants a player who dominates the ball and who can't shoot and is kind of inefficient, what John Wall is. And this is a player who's relied on athleticism his entire career. When he came out of college, what was he known for? Just being athletic, being super fast.
Very fast.
Got compared to Derrick Rose because he was super fast. So now you're coming to the NBA off a torn Achilles, which ends most players' careers.
And an ACL.
You know, Brandon Jennings was averaging 20, made an all-star game, tore his Achilles, declined. You know, we see this example far too often. So for me to think that John Wall is going to come back and he's going to be this all-star or even 18 points per game, I think is generous.
Yeah.
I think John Wall will come back and average like 13 a game, like 6-7 assists.
Jeez.
And I think the only way to make it work is if Bradley Beal
gets traded.
Or Bradley Beal gets traded, or Bradley Beal, like John Wall just defers to Bradley Beal and says it's your team. And that's the only way it can work.
I mean, at this point, I don't think that's such a bad idea, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's obvious right now that Bradley Beal is the better player. So I don't really understand why John Wall wouldn't want to take a back seat. But I agree with you. I think if John Wall comes back and he's dominating the ball, the offenses ran through him, everything's going through him. If I'm Bradley Beal, I'm putting up 30 this year. I'm putting up 27 last year. I'm a beast at scoring. I'm not gonna want somebody that's coming off an Achilles injury, ACL tear, who's also making more money than me to come and run the team. No way. So I agree with that.
Yeah, it's also, are the Wizards gonna make the playoffs?
Probably. The East is that weak. They're gonna be 8, 7, maybe 6 seed. They're not gonna do anything.
You think they'll make the playoffs?
The
Nets are gonna be healthy.
Because look, the Wizards,
that spot is done.
The Wizards right now, what are they? They're the 9th seed with Bradley Beal and this iffy roster just full of young, unproven players.
But you have to think about it.
Well, let's name teams. So
let's name the teams that are not in the playoffs.
Okay.
Well, let's name the teams that are in the playoffs. Right? Is Milwaukee going anywhere?
Milwaukee, they're gonna, even if Giannis,
they're making the playoffs.
Yeah, even if Giannis hurt, they're gonna make the playoffs.
Toronto,
gonna make the playoffs.
Boston,
gonna make the playoffs.
Miami,
gonna make the playoffs.
Philly,
gonna make the playoffs.
Brooklyn,
gonna make the playoffs.
Indiana,
usually a lock for the playoffs.
And Orlando.
Iffy, but I would pick them to make the playoffs before the Wizards make the playoffs at this point.
And then we also have Charlotte. I think they're much more farther along.
Their rebuild process,
yeah.
The Wizards are more on the decline, you know what I mean? I think we saw the peak of Bradley Beal and John Wall. That the best I can do is get to the second round.
And the Knicks coming into their RJ Barrett's second season.
Let's see.
Gonna be a superstar. But okay, for real, I think not even them though. Like we were talking about this the other episode. Atlanta.
Dude, that I forgot about that team.
Yeah, so
I forgot about that team.
I don't know, the Wizards are just so bad on defense too.
Yeah, they're horrible.
It's really, I don't really know what's gonna happen.
I've been speaking to a lot of NBA fans. It's not out the realm that Atlanta can make a run at the playoffs next year, especially with how we're talking about the East and how we had that video between who's better between them and the Hawks. You know what I mean? I think Atlanta is on the right path. I think they're in line for another good pick, and they have a ton of money. So I forgot about Atlanta. That's actually gonna probably change my mind and say the Wizards probably won't make the playoffs because at this point
I don't think the Wizards have a chance.
At this point, they're just on a decline. The Wizards are just on a decline. There's nothing more I can say. John Wall and the team's on a decline. So yeah, we'll see what happens with John Wall next year. I don't know if there's really anything.
I don't even know
there's
why,
really anything to be excited about.
I don't even know why the Wizards are going to Orlando for Disney to go to Disney World. Because to be honest, I think the only positive thing that can come out of that is Bradley Beal coming home to his daughter, if any kids that he has, with like a freaking doll, like a Mickey Mouse doll or something.
Yeah, you know,
that's the only thing that can come good out of it. The only thing positive.
They're not making the playoffs.
Like, there's no reason for them to be in it. The East is kind of solidified.
Pretty much.
But we're moving on to our last segment of the show, and this is our only NFL segment. And we're gonna try to get more NFL segments next episode, definitely some in the future, because we kind of shied away from that. So the last segment is: who do you think has a better shot to make the Super Bowl? The defending Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs, or the Baltimore Ravens?
Is this a trick question? I mean, you have to go with the Chiefs. They're the Super Bowl champions. The Ravens haven't won a playoff game under Lamar Jackson. I'm a big fan of Lamar Jackson, and, you know, he's got to get a playoff win. But, I mean, at this point, if you're choosing the Ravens to win the AFC over the defending Super Bowl champions, it's absurd. You know, you got the better quarterback. You got the better overall team. You got the better skills position. You got the better coach. Everything is pointing in the favor of the Chiefs. You know what I mean? So until the Ravens prove otherwise, the AFC, in my opinion, is ran through the Chiefs. I mean, this has been a pretty big, you know, this has been a pretty big thing around Lamar's short career, is that he doesn't win the game. He can't win the playoff game. I mean, last year, they were the number 1 seed in the AFC, right? You had home field advantage. You were going up against the Titans. Granted, the Titans made the AFC Championship, right? You know, they had a good season. You know what I mean? Ryan Tannehill came, but I'm not going to lie. I was one of the people that really thought the Ravens would just obliterate them. But, I mean, Lamar Jackson's first year when he was against the Chargers had a horrible first half, came out strong in the second half, wasn't enough. So, I mean, until the Ravens and Lamar Jackson prove me otherwise, until they get a win under their belt, I can't give them the nod to go to the Super Bowl over the defending Super Bowl champions with the best quarterback in the entire league. I mean, I don't know how you feel about this.
I mean, I think that I don't know if the Chiefs will make the Super Bowl again, and that's why I'm picking the Ravens, because just of 2 or 3 words, depending on if you think this is 1 word or 2, Super Bowl hangover. Because I think the past has shown that teams that make the Super Bowl, they don't go back outside of New England.
Yeah, New England.
But I don't think Kansas City is New England. So, okay, you have Philly, made the Super Bowl, didn't make the playoffs next year. You have
they didn't make the playoffs? No, they made the playoffs.
The very next year?
Yeah, they made the playoffs. They were
after the Super Bowl?
Yeah, they were 9-7. They beat the Bears. They lost to the Saints. Remember when this dude Alshon Jeffrey dropped the pass from Nick Foles?
The year after.
Was it the year after?
I'm not sure if it was the year after.
I don't know, but I remember. I don't know. I mean, quote me. Check it if I'm wrong. Yeah,
but I just think
they just didn't go back.
I just think that. Oh yeah, they didn't go back. They made the playoffs, but they didn't go back.
Yeah, they lost to the Saints because Alshon Jeffrey had Butterfinger drop the pass.
So this is the thing. Is like, okay, yeah, I think the Chiefs will be dominant in the regular season and they'll probably get a good seed, but I don't think they'll make the Super Bowl, because I think that the way their teams are constructed now, if the Ravens were to face the Chiefs in the playoffs, I don't think the Chiefs beat them. And that's because of the Ravens have a really good defense. They acquired Calais Campbell. And
underrated.
I just think that I don't think that the Chiefs would be able to stop the Ravens' run attack. I think they're just so dominant on the run. And look, Lamar Jackson, I've been really critical of Lamar Jackson. And if he was in a situation like Sam Darnold is on the Jets, I'd say there's no way that Lamar Jackson even gets close to making Super Bowl. But since he's on such a stacked roster, I mean, when you think about teams with the best roster in the NFL, the Ravens are number 1. They have the best roster in the NFL.
Well, they have a top 5 line, good running back.
And there's been a list of like quarterbacks that have lost their first 2 playoff games, end up winning like the Super Bowl. I think one of them was like Eli Manning and like Peyton, or like, I know that there's a list of quarterbacks that they've lost their first 2 playoff games and they've won a Super Bowl. Yeah. For my sake and my sanity, I hope the Ravens don't win a Super Bowl. If they get there, that's fine. Just don't win. I won't hear the end of it from Ravens fans. But I just think that the Ravens have a much better roster than the Chiefs. So I think that it'll just, if they face the Ravens they'll win.
Now, let me just add a little side question. Let's just say the Ravens don't win a playoff game again this year. Let's just say they don't win a playoff game just for the sake of it. Would it be time? Well, I don't know if it'd be time to look for another quarterback, but if Lamar Jackson lays another egg in the playoffs, shows that he hasn't improved in his passing attack, and they don't win, what do you think's next for his future with the Ravens? You think they're gonna, ride this out, or do you think after like a third playoff loss and like, an underperforming game, they're gonna start thinking like, okay, like is this guy really gonna be able to take our franchise to the top? Like, what do you think? Because you said it yourself, he has a very talented roster, you know what I mean? So
I think that it depends on how Lamar loses.
Okay.
If Lamar loses again because he's not able to pass the ball effectively, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
It really depends on how he loses. But if they lose because he plays bad, which I'm assuming you're thinking is what's gonna happen. If it does
let's
happen,
just say it does.
then I think you have to give it another year.
You have to give it another year?
Yeah, the only question about Lamar, it wouldn't be not to keep him. It would be how much do we pay him?
Yeah.
That would be the question. So I think they'll keep him. It's just how much are they going to be willing to pay Lamar Jackson if he doesn't win these playoff games?
I mean, for the sake of Lamar Jackson, I mean, I hope he wins a playoff game next year. You know what I mean? Just an MVP player.
No,
You don't. I mean, I do, because I know how much you dislike his game, but I mean, just for the sake of his career, he's got to get one. I mean, you were talking earlier about how Mark Sanchez went to the playoffs, has how many wins? 4 wins?
4-2. Mark Sanchez is so underrated. In Mark Sanchez's career, these are the teams he's beat in the playoffs. He beat our quarterbacks: Carson Palmer, Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning. And the quarterbacks he's lost to, Ben Roethlisberger and Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
So Mark Sanchez has a pretty good playoff career.
Yeah.
And I think that Mark Sanchez is underappreciated.
By Jets fans?
Jets fans, yeah, because Jets fans love to bash him. But I think nobody outside of Jets fans should appreciate him because there's no reason to.
Yeah.
But Jets fans should definitely appreciate Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, their best years with him.
And I appreciate Mark Sanchez even more because he's the only Spanish quarterback I've ever seen. I think Tony Romo was the
Spanish.
only other one.
Yeah.
But Mark Sanchez represented Spanish people like me. And then I have our cameraman Hamza over here is about to pass me an action figure I have of Mark Sanchez. I have a poster of Mark Sanchez too. I don't even know where it is, but right now we're gonna talk about this. So look, Mark Sanchez, if you're watching this, my friend and I, JC, and my name is Joel. We host a podcast called Pick a Side Podcast. We have another co-host called named River, and we would love for you to be a guest on the show through Zoom call or anything else.
Yep.
And I've been a huge fan, and this action figure is just an example of how much of a fan I've been. I've had this for a while. I'm lying. I actually only had it for like 2 weeks to make this video. But I'm a huge fan of yours. I DM'd you on Instagram. You didn't answer back. But hopefully if this video gets to you and you see it, maybe that we can set something up so you can come on the show. We're both Jets fans, huge
Jets fans at that.
We have the poster back there.
I think if you look back at one of our... Oh, no, the poster's right there. I mean, you're not going to be able to see it, but I think if you look back at our previous episodes, the poster was behind us, right? Sanchez
the
poster?
Mark Sanchez poster?
Yeah, it was behind
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at how old the poster looks, you can tell that he's not lying about that. He's had that for a very long time. So
I mean, yeah, we got to get Mark Sanchez on the show. I think that's a good way to end the episode, too. A good segue into the outro of the episode.
Yes, sir.
So this is our episode of Pick a Side for the week, and we hope you guys enjoyed it. River was not here, but he'll be back next week, I'm assuming.
Yep.
So yeah, if you guys are watching this and you guys want to @ Mark Sanchez on his Twitter, Instagram to try to be a guest on the show or whatever you guys want to do,
greatly appreciate it.
Then do that. We appreciate you guys for watching, and peace.
Thank you.
Peace.